I'm going to be discussing Japanese hair straightening, my process, and also a review on the whole process. So first I want to mention, like, I am not a professional. This was very trial and error, do it myself. With that being said, I am by no means saying that everybody should be doing this and that I have expert experience or anything like that. So if you would like to have the process done and do it yourself, do so at your own discretion. Whatever happens to you is not reflective of me. I cannot be liable for it. So first I want to mention that before I did the Japanese hair straightening, I had bleached my hair when I had locks, and when I took out my locks, quite a lot of my hair grew out, but I went ahead and relaxed it because I had forgotten about the Japanese hair straightening process, even though it had been something I was entertaining a few years ago. When my hair just wasn't doing what I really wanted it to do while it was relaxed, I stumbled across more videos on it, and I'm gonna link some of the videos that I watched below, and also some articles that I found very helpful. And at that point in time, the verdict wasn't very clear on if I would be able to do this because my hair was bleached at the end, relaxed, and so many people were saying, oh, if you do Japanese hair straightening over relaxed hair, your hair is just gonna fall out. Like, it's gonna melt off your head, it's gonna fall out. But also, there were some videos that I have watched where people did have relaxed hair and got the Japanese hair straightening over it, and I never got updated reviews from those people's videos, but they did not seem to have any problems. So I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll give it a try. I was kind of starting from that point, and I went ahead and ordered the actual system. So the system I went with was the Shiseido crystallizing straight system. Honestly, it's amazing. Honestly, I'm very happy that I went ahead and did it. As you can see, I still have hair on my head. It has not fallen out and melted. Actually, it's a lot softer and easier to deal with, but the relaxed hair is still a little bit frizzy. It's still a tiny bit frizzy. You can't really tell right now, but I can tell the difference between the hair that's just purely Japanese straight perm and the hair that's relaxed. So now I want to get into the actual process of how I did my hair. So first, I ordered the products, and I want to say, like, the first website I ordered them from was such a scam. Like, it never came. I had to get a refund from PayPal. It was stressful and unnecessary. So if you're gonna order this, just do like everybody else, order it off of Amazon. And when I finally did get the actual products, at this point it had been so long, I was just tired. I was like, I'm just gonna do it to my whole head. If my hair falls out, no big deal, like, I'll just deal with it. And so when I started, I didn't properly condition and detangle my hair. So I want to say, if you're gonna do this yourself, be mindful of the fact that it may not come out great, but also, before you start, condition your hair, detangle your hair, deep condition your hair, because once you start the process, there's no conditioner for at least 3 days. So yeah, once I started, I had to clarify my hair 3 times. So I shampooed it 3 times with the Garnier Pure Clean shampoo, and then I went straight in with the Shiseido crystallizing straight cream. And once I went in with that, I set the timer for 25 minutes just to make sure, like, I had enough processing time. I didn't do it like all the way through. First of all, you don't want to put this on your scalp. It's not clear why you don't want to put it on your scalp. It's not similar to a sodium hydroxide relaxer where it will burn your scalp, as far as I'm concerned, but it could irritate your scalp, so be mindful of that. Don't put it on your scalp. But I started with the hair that had grown out from a relaxer. It had been 3 months since I had a relaxer, so I started with all the new growth and only did that section by section, starting from the back, working my way up. Once I finished all of that hair, then I went to the relaxed hair, and I avoided the edges until the very end, but at that point I went ahead and did the relaxed hair So because your hair is wet the whole time, it's easy to see which hair has been processed and which hair hasn't been processed. So at that point, it was easy for me to see, okay, I got it all on the new growth. Now I can go through and get it on the relaxed hair. And the timer went off somewhere in there. So I set the timer for just 5 more minutes. So in total, it was in my hair no more than 30 minutes. And then I rinsed it out very thoroughly, making sure that there was no like silkiness, no slip, because the product is not a conditioner, but it has a similar filmy type of feel, like if you know what I mean, how conditioner feels in your hair. So you want to make sure that's completely out before you go on to the next step, which is towel drying your hair, blow drying your hair, and straightening your hair. Now at that point, I did use a heat protectant. I used the Giovanni Frisbee Gone serum. You can use whatever heat protectant you have. And after that, you would think, okay, we're almost done. Well, no, not really, because it was time to do the neutralizing cream. Thankfully, I had help from my mom at this point. I didn't make a difference with any of the hair at that point. I didn't do like all the new growth first and then the relaxed hair. I just went from the back up, all the hair from the root to the tip, neutralizing it, and I let that sit for 15 minutes. So once that was done, I had to rinse it out again, but this time I had to make sure that it was thoroughly rinsed out by checking for bubbles. Like the water would bubble up if there was still the neutralizer in, because the neutralizer is like hydrogen peroxide based. So you know, if you have peroxide and water, it's gonna bubble up. So you have to make sure there's no bubbles, and that took a long time to rinse out because there was still a lot of bubbling at the nape of my neck. Once we saw that there were no more bubbles, I went ahead and towel dried the hair, blow dried the hair, and thankfully this time it only took 15 minutes. I did feel a huge difference in my hair at that point. And then I straightened it again, and when I tell you, my hair was so silky, like smooth, straight, like just felt like I'd just gotten the best silk press of my life. But the only thing was, it smelled like rotten eggs. Like the smell was absolutely terrible. I never cut off the exhaust on the back at any point during the process, but I had to leave it running for a long time after the last step because it smelled terrible, and your hair will smell like that for at least 2 days. At that point, I felt really good about it. Like even my bleached hair looked smoother, healthier, like stronger. I don't know the science behind why it looks like that, but it looked amazing, absolutely amazing. So I didn't wash my hair for a whole week, but you can wash your hair after like 2 to 3 days. They say like 48 hours. I don't know, it depends on your hair type. I feel like maybe some people may want to go 72 hours or more like I did, because at that point I was still like, you know, my hair doesn't feel super greasy yet, so I'm gonna give it a few more days. And that whole time, that first 48 hours after you get it done, make sure you don't like tuck your hair behind your ear, have any weird, like don't even bump the ends, don't do anything that's not pinned straight unless like you want it to look like that, unless you want it to set like that, because it will set like that and it could look very awkward. So if you wake up and you're a bit of a wild sleeper, you may want to go ahead with a flat iron first thing in the morning and ensure that you go over the pieces that have gotten a weird kink or something like that. I know there are people that get this perm in Korea, like the Korean Magic Perm, and they'll get the straight perm for the roots, and like the end will be like a C or a S curl. I wouldn't know how to do that. So if your intention is not to have your ends permanently like curled under, don't do anything like that, because it will be stuck in that shape no matter what, and it could be very hard to get it out of that shape. So lastly, you may be wondering, would I recommend it? And like 1000% yes. If you wear your hair in more straightened styles, or even if you wear your hair more like silky curly styles, I definitely recommend it, because it just makes it easier for you to like style your hair than relaxed hair. Like if you are used to getting relaxers and you have the means to afford Japanese hair straightening, I definitely recommend it over relaxers. If I would have remembered when I went back to chemically processing my hair that this was an option, I would have went straight to it, because it just preserves the integrity of my hair so much better than relaxed hair. During the whole stretch that I had from just letting my new growth grow in versus my relaxed hair, I have little hairs that would just break off and just look terrible. And of course the bleached ends don't look great, they don't look healthy. But just doing the Japanese hair straightening, I can see that more of the hair is not breaking, it's shedding, like it's from the root coming out, and not like over shedding, it's a natural shedding. So if you're concerned about how damaging relaxers are, this is damaging. It is a chemical, but it's a lot gentler than relaxers. And I feel like the styling options come out looking so much better. Like, my hair looks like this. It was curled a lot more earlier, and the curls will come flat with the Japanese straight perm, but it is easy to just wake up, brush your hair, and go, and it looks decent. So lastly, I want to say like 3 goals that I have for myself. Number 1 is to get a proper haircut. It's been a while since I've had my hair properly cut and trimmed. The ends, like when I see them, they look rougher than maybe what you can see on camera, but I definitely want to make sure that I get a fresh cut so that I don't have any more bleached hair, and then just let it grow from there. Because my second goal is to reach waist length. I feel like it's definitely possible within the next 3 years. My hair grows pretty rapidly, and with this process it feels smoother and healthier. But my last goal is to not reach for gel and things like that so often. I'm trying to let the hair just do its own thing. One thing about this process is, like, the more texture your hair has in it, the less silky it's gonna come out. So my hair doesn't look pin straight if I just wet it and let it air dry. It's more like a light yaki kind of straight, if you know what I mean, in terms of texture. It's got a little bit of body still. I mean, it's got a lot of body, it's got a lot of movement. But yeah, I hope that answered all your questions. If you have any more questions, be sure to leave them down below. I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible, or maybe somebody else has the answer and they can get to your question. And if we end up having a good amount of questions, I'll try to do like another video on like FAQ or a Q&A or whatever. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed everything. Thank you once again for watching my video. I hope that it was somewhat entertaining, because it's so different from what I'm used to posting. But if you feel inclined to, please subscribe and stick around for the rest of my journey. Thank you once again. Bye bye.